Nigel Brock at Montana. I'm third generation farm here. Granddad came here in the 1920s, fell in love with the place, and then Dad ran it for many years, and my wife and I took over in 2003. And in those days there was no irrigation and very little dairy. It was about 250 cows, and we decided in 2008 to take it to a bigger scale, and that's where it got far more complex, and that's where we had to come up, as we've gone forward, with feed pads and structures like this, just to make life far easier to, to handle those big numbers in a wet, cold environment. And I think that's one of the crucial things is this is a wet area. We're right in the middle of a floodplain, so it is quite wet, and to carve large numbers of cows in a short period of time, we're carving over 8 to 10 weeks. It is very hard on the animals, for one, and the paddocks. We just don't have we don't have the hills, the banks, dry, rough knobs that farmers talk about. We don't have them, so we've got to invent things like this. Yeah, so this is where we used to carve in the past, and these paddocks are our only dry, so-called dry spots on the farm to do the carvings. Basically, you've got 300 cows calving in that kind of condition, and it's not healthy for one, the cow or the calf or the person. When we need to come and get those calves out of the paddock, it's very difficult. We've got to park the vehicles in dry land, we've got to go in there and physically carry those calves out, because you take a motorbike or a trailer in there and you'll end up being bogged. So that's why we sort of decided, I think, to shift it all indoors, make it far easier. So the shed, yeah, we built it at the end of last season. We didn't get to use it. This year we've used it. So the capacity is a 56 by 20 metre shed. The actual cow area is probably 48 metres by 20, and it can house around 120 cows. Well, there's a mixed age group of cows in the shed, ranging from 3-year-olds to 12-year-olds. They've found it extremely easy to break into. We had no trouble getting them in here, no trouble getting them to calve and all those sorts of things. It's been really good, it's been fantastic. For many years I've been thinking of a shed that can house 100 cows to get them out of the mud and into a far more comfortable environment. So basically, yeah, we've been calving out in the paddock, 300 cows in one mob, in mud, and it's just been hard work on the men, it's hard work on the cows, and it's hard work on management. We've got house feeding. The feeding is under roof, so the apron was built on the shed to house the feed pad and the feed area, so if it rains they can have ad lib feed and it doesn't get too wet and you don't waste as much. For 27 years I've been calving outside, and getting up, going out at night at 10:30, at midnight, whatever, and it's raining, you've got to get all your wet weather gear on, you've got to get on a motorbike, it's miserable, and I used to lay on the couch and think, I don't want to go around these cows tonight. Like, to expect staff to be up at midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and getting cows and calves home if they're in trouble, or all those sorts of things. So I just see this as more of a benefit to staff and our health and well-being, as well as the cows. You can be out here on a rough night, and I know there's been nights when calves are born and you've got a blizzard happening off the mountain, and if you don't have those calves taken to the barn and fed within 10 minutes of being born, they will simply perish. Now I can come down here like I'm dressed like I am now, and it's a breeze, really is a breeze. We originally built the dairy in 2008, and that was eucalypt green, so I like the way it just blends in with the pastures, so it's a pasture type colour, and so it's nondescript sort of colour. So we chose the same for this, and I think it fits in with the whole complex very nicely. As far as the external cladding, how high we had it off, because we wanted this concrete block wall to be exposed. Dave was quite accommodating of that. I found Dave real easy to work with, real professional. Adding the apron into the design, very easy to just draw up. It was really good. I'd seen adverts or seen sheds built around the country with the Bison symbol on them, basically, and I sort of contacted Dave, and he gave us a quote, and I got some quotes off some other people. I looked at the ease of working with Bison designing the shed, the apron and and the doors, everything was so easy to get it designed. And they came back, you know, their price was competitive, and we just decided to go with that. The construction of the thing was so simple. They did a really professional job. Quite impressed with it, really. And then the builders come in and filled in the insides, and it was all done. But it was a really easy process to deal with Bison, really was. Yeah.